Thank you, President. Mariana, you invited us to travel back to our youthful or childhood days. I'd like to invite you all now to travel slightly back also in the institutional childhood of this academy, to look a little bit at the past. Yesterday, I tried to tell you a little bit about it, but this academy also has a childhood that animates and inspires a lot of things that it does. So what you're looking at is a structure from the 15th century, which was meant to be the summer residence of a pope, Pius IV. That's why the name you find is Casina Pio Quarto, a small house of Pius IV. So that was his summer residence. But when in 1936 it was given to the academy, this new part where we gathered now was built and attached to it. So where you travel to go down for lunch and all of that is the old part. And the new part is where we gathered now, and we'll see how Pope Pius XI gave it to the academy. So the story of this, if it moves. So this is how it began. This is our childhood. It began with a small vision by the young guy on the right to gather a few scientists around him to talk and discuss questions of science. It wasn't called an academy. It wasn't called anything. It was an initiative of a group of young scientists. The only thing was that this young guy had an uncle who was a cardinal. And so got some patronage, which brought him very close to the church and to everything that happened. He died very young, and his initiative was in 1603. In 1610, the older person on the top, that's Galileo. So he was invited to join the group, and coming into the group with his telescope, you know what happened, right? He described the center of the universe not to be the Earth, but the sun. And that was so revolutionary that a lot of people could not take it. So it was briefly thrown out. But this plaque over here talks about his reinstatement in the academy. Okay, so Galileo didn't end his life outside the academy, but was part of it, Albert. Now, the other thing that is worth talking about, in several places, the academies and stuff are referred to as Linchei. Linchei, the lynx, is the small animal in the middle there, a kind of a totemic animal which is gifted with foresight and clear vision. So that became the symbol for academies, which several use now. This academy used to be one with Italy and all of that. When there was a separation between the Vatican and Italy, Italian Academy still bears the name Linchei, and it's still along the river Tiber towards Trastevere. The Academy of the Kingdom of Italy is still there, bears the name the Linchei of the Academy of Italy. So after Chelsea, his initiative went down a little bit, and this abbot took it up, Scapellini, and he took it up not here, but in a place in Rome, which is now used by the Senate, Palazzo Caetani, which is now used by the Senate of Italy. So his initiative was also followed then by Pope Pius IX, a very famous pope in the history of the church. On the hymn, the separation between Italy and the Vatican began. So on the hymn, the Vatican lost its territory, constrained to come into this small enclave. And people say that if he had not done it, probably Pope Francis now would have done it. So it's a restriction of everything of the Vatican to this small territory by the Abbot Scapellini. And then Pius XI is our big patron. He built this new place where we gathered now. And where we build that thing, you see something like a small tower. And behind that small tower is a little bit of a space. That's where we gathered now. That small space behind the small tower is where this was built as a meeting place for the academy. And when it was all ready, this was the opening of it, a big moment, where the Pope referred to the Academy of the Sciences as a Senate of Scientists for the Vatican. So it wasn't simply, he had a big appreciation for the role of the Academy of Sciences in the Vatican. So these are some of the figures who have passed through here. Galileo, Marconi, you remember the name? Marconi. It depends on which side of the Atlantic you are. If you're on this side, Marconi is the inventor of radio. If you're on the other side of the Atlantic, it's Tesla who invented the radio. So it depends on where you find yourself. So there's Marconi, there's Fleming, there's Schroeder, Max Planck. All of these big guys are there, and it continues. This is not all. A few figures we need to add are, for example, a gentleman who described the Big Bang, the Big Bang theory. You find his bust just outside the door, Lemaitre. Okay, was also a member, and in fact, the predecessor, former predecessor, no, not immediate, was also a predecessor of this academy, just as the big polyclinic in Rome, Gemelli, was also a Franciscan friar. He was also a president of this academy, and they went on to create the big health institutions that we have. So these are the different popes who have served the academy over the years to the present one, Pope Francis. And Pope Benedict, you see, clothed in a little bit of red purple, he was admitted as almost a member of the academy, okay, with the clothing there. So these are the various subjects and themes that the academy treats: astronomy, life science, physics, mathematics, and all of those, and works closely with an observatory of the Vatican in Casa Gandolfo and another one in New Mexico. So it's got a telescope out there, and that's contribute a lot of stuff. We did an event early last year on the James Webb telescope, and took us all out there. So everything was the Academy of Sciences until Pope John Paul II came up, and he thought that it wasn't, there was something left out. So in several places we have Academy of Arts and Science. Here it's just science, and Pope John Paul II asked us to tag onto this Academy of Social Sciences. So from 1994, we do not have only an Academy of Science, but Academy of also Science and Social Sciences, and that was started by him. Both of them operate out of this facility, and these are different subject matters they look at. And these are some of these, famous members. Stiglitz was just here 2 months ago to have an event on global indebtedness in the South. So these are some of the material that we do. Every meeting of ours is accompanied by the leaflets you have in front of you. And after the meeting, their addresses and talks are guarded and either published as acts of the event or on the varia or the other subject matters, and all are available online. So every material of the academy is available online, free, can be accessed by everybody. And just to promote the small type of things that we do. For this morning gathered over here, in the light of the discussion that's been held and the call for it, and we just want to, just remind ourselves that the question of childhood and the need to protect and safeguard their well-being belongs to something that we all have. Every human being is essentially a personal being and a relational being. These are two features that we all share and have. As personal beings, we're beings with dignity. with rights and also with responsibilities. That makes us persons, subjects with dignity to be respected and all. And that is also true of children. And as we used to say, there's no, the Greeks refer to brothers as adelphos. Adelphos means people coming out of the same womb. And the point is that two people cannot come out of the same womb and be different in dignity. So adelphos refer to all of human means that we all have dignities that need to be promoted, to be respected, and to be enhanced. And this is true not only for adults, but also for children, and that underlies our concern that has brought us all here today to seek to promote this. Second thing about all of us is that we are relational. We develop our dignities and everything we have in relationship. And what guides and directs relationship is justice, a sense of justice that we all need to have to facilitate and guide the relationship of all. To the point that earlier on in Hebrew literature, they define justice as respecting the demands of the relationships in which you live. When one respects the demands of the relationship in which he or she lives, that's his or her justice. And when you abuse the demands of the relationship in which you live, that's also your injustice. So this, in our conversations this 2 days, we're going to be guided by these two big basic concepts: our personal beings and the fact that we are relational beings. And we'll be invited then to respect and justice the identities and realities of each one of us. Thank you.